Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Phil Risher, and on today's episode, we're going to be discussing how to attract top talent to your home service business consistently with Clif Savage. Clif, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Phil. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So Clif is the owner of Service Leader System. What his company does is helps contractors and home service businesses build consistent talent acquisition streams, which is why I'm so excited to talk with him because we get this question all the time. So Clif, can you tell us a little bit, like, how did you get into the trades? How did you even learn how to do all this stuff?
Yeah, so I got into the trades pretty much like straight out of high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to go into college and go into a bunch of debt and still not know what I wanted to do. So,
Yeah.
I got into manufacturing, but the cool part was I grew up around the contracting world. My dad's been an electrical contractor since I was, he was in it before I was born, but he started his own business when I was 2.
Oh, wow.
And then my best friend from middle school, his mom had a painting company.
Oh,
And so, summers we were in those businesses helping our family. And then as we moved on, my friend's mother actually handed the business over, sold it to her son. And so I got a lot more involved in that business. But my journey took me, once I got into my own job, was manufacturing. And so I learned a lot about processes and systems and streamlining things to make it repeatable, reduce waste, reduce headaches as much as possible. And so it was cool because I was learning both worlds and then found a way to blend them together. And there's other people out there that have figured that out too. I just made the most of what I dealt with going through that world. I didn't know if I wanted to go in business for myself. I didn't know if I was going to be good at business. Not everyone wants to be a business owner, but a lot of people suck at it. There's a lot to do. And just, one step after the other, started freelance consulting in 2016 just to see, hey, can I really work in someone else's business, advise on what I know to streamline systems and operations and manage talent and make it work, make it something that I could actually sell and promote, right? Not just be a coach and just talk a bunch of woo-woo, but actually provide solutions.
Yeah.
And so it finally evolved into, officially branding the company in 2021.
Yeah. Well, that was the perfect time because everyone had a hiring issue in 2021.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I used to be in the trades, director of business development, and we had 30 technicians and we were running like 15 routes. And I'm like, okay, I really need more technicians. I need more routes because I'm trying to grow. And, the owner would say, okay, we'll go, talk to the technicians, see if they have anyone they can refer in, which is good. But then he's like, what about Indeed? Like we could probably put, $2,000 or $3,000 on Indeed and see if we can get some people. Everyone that's listening to this feels the exact same pain that I just explained. And so what does that look like as far as you have this 5-step attraction blueprint and stuff, but like, what does it look like to build a game plan to attract people to come into your business?
I mean, I think, one of the biggest things, just like you were saying, everyone was trying to find good talent, 2020, 21. And that's because employees realized they actually had options now. It just kind of blew the doors wide open for people. Obviously, Zoom and a lot of technology advances over the past 10, 15 years really has made it easier to go into business for yourself, be a freelancer, work remotely, like whatever, right? Yeah. So people had options. That means they didn't have to settle for crappy options anymore. And so a lot of companies, and I experienced it from like global Fortune 500 manufacturing companies all the way down to some like mom and pop startups that I was like freelance consulting in. They all fail at pretty much like the same thing.
What is that? What do they fail? Yeah, what do they fail at?
They don't take care of their people. They don't take care of their current employees. They're mismanaging them. And they do a terrible job at taking care of candidates. And, I even experienced that, throughout the pandemic because I was looking at options like, do I need to go back to work? Do I need to find another job in manufacturing? What do I need to do? No one responded. No one even sent a rejection letter. Only like out of, hundreds of applications, only 2 people actually touched base with me. And even then those options weren't great. So it just companies suck at taking care of candidates and taking care of their employees.
Yeah.
That's what it really came down to.
Yeah. It sounds like if you were to get a lead for a new customer in your business, you would want to reach out to them pretty quickly and be on the ball because it's revenue. Where if you were to get a lead for a new team member, it might just sit there in a resume pile until you need someone to interact with.
not as valuable, not as high priority. And it's almost because like, oh gosh, well, we're having to spend money rather than make money, right? It's a scarcity mentality. It's just backwards.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's a lot to that. Yeah.
So you have come up with this 5 steps to attract talent on a consistent
Mhm.
basis. Can you walk us through those 5 steps? In preparation for this interview, I know a lot about you because I've researched a lot.
Yeah.
I have a couple things in there that I want to dig into, but if you could just explain those 5 steps, please.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's called the attraction blueprint. The reason I call that, it's a blueprint and it's about attracting. Obviously, a big issue that, contractors and all employers talk about, but especially contractors, field positions, the specialty positions, they struggle with attracting talent, but also retaining it. And so my way of looking at the attraction part is it's also bringing them in and keeping them in.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, right? It's not quick one-offs like, let's just bring someone in the door. Let's just get warm bodies. No,
Yeah.
your current team's going to hate you. You're going to hate you. The new hire's going to hate you. Like, just, we can't do that. And so I think you even said it earlier, like, how do we systemize a repeatable flow of candidates coming in the door, right?
Yeah.
That's where the 5 steps comes in, because I found a lot of people struggle with even like employee referral programs, right? They can't even get their employees to go find people to come work for them because they missed some critical steps when they hired them.
Yeah.
So like essentially it's clarify, connect, compel, screen, and onboard. The biggest piece on the front end, right? Kind of like trying to dig deep on like what's the root cause of these company struggles is like they don't even know who's the best person to hire. I'm not talking just like resume, skills, years of experience, consistency in a job with a company. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about what is your ideal person to work in a certain position. Phil, like you're mentioning, it's almost the same mentality of like marketing for clients, but you're kind of reverse engineering it for people to come work for you. But like if you can identify the right personality for a position, because I've worked in enough people's businesses now, my own included, if you don't have the right personality in a position, I don't care how big their heart is, how smart they are, they're going to fail, they're going to suck, they're going to hate their life.
Yes. So do you recommend people do like a disc assessment when they're going to bring someone on, or some type of an assessment to
Some
figure
type
out
of
that?
assessment. If they
Okay.
don't use my disc, if they don't use someone else's disc, some type of personality assessment to analyze. And it's a specific type. Like ours is called hiring insights because it's you ask situational questions based on the position and it spits out the most ideal personality. So you can't manipulate this and skew the results.
So that will kind of be in the step 4 that you have for screening. But I think maybe an action item would be take your top employee and have them run through that
Yep.
thing. And then you can clarify your ideal candidate off of that, it sounds like.
That's a lot of times that's what we have to do. Startups are a little different, but current companies are like, hey, I need another superintendent or I need another estimator. It's like, and maybe there's not that person right now. Maybe they got promoted, right?
Yeah.
But who was the best person in that position that's still in your company? Have them take a benchmark assessment and even have them take a benchmark resume, like have them redo a resume of where they're at currently, with the company. So you can compare apples to apples, and our systems, which we can talk about later, help with that. So the more benchmark data of like who you want more of, like, hey, I want to multiply you.
Yeah.
Got to do that. So yeah, great suggestion.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. Okay, so clarify, then connect. Now, this is one that everyone gets hung up on because they connect on Indeed. But like, where else should you be connecting and finding these people, especially for local stuff, especially with the technician side of things?
Yeah, and that's the biggest area that's struggling. And so that really challenged us when we came up with this service, what it is today, because that was the hardest problem, right?
Yeah.
It's like, word spreads, good or bad, but most of the time bad spreads a lot faster than good, right? Now, I will say you need to have all your jobs getting posted on all the major job boards. That's like a basic requirement, and that shouldn't take a lot of effort. It's very systemized the way we do it. It's very simplistic, but it's required. Okay, that's the basic step. The big thing, though, is connecting with them where their attention is at. So we have the attraction blueprint. It's a worksheet. Like you're not just reading me preaching to you. I propose a theory, show you an example, and then you actually have to go and do your research of like, let's say, for example, this ideal superintendent, right? Or we'll just say the field tech. We already have a great field tech, right? We've got him taking the disc assessment. Now let's ask him, sit him down. if you were to go look for a job tomorrow, where are you going to search? Are you going to
Mm.
Google it? Are you going to go into one of your Facebook groups with like, HVAC technicians or, whatever type of technicians? Are you going to go into, your local restaurants or sports bars where you hang out and talk to your buddies with other companies? They're shooting the shit, but they're also looking for better opportunities. We take all that into account. Where are they looking for opportunities?
Yeah.
And then where are they not? Where are they just living socially too? You want to hit both sides of the spectrum. That's big. That's how you really start connecting with them. And we can talk more about like the messaging that you bring once you know where they're at.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you hit that part, which is like, obviously don't just use Indeed. These big job boards, I mean, it could be as something as like your local Craigslist or some other job board for the trades in your local area. I did a call before and they said, just go to ChatGPT and ask it. It'll kind of spit out like, 20 places to post your job in your local area or something like that. So, okay, you figure out, I think it's a really great idea. Talk to your top person and say like, where do you hang out? Where would you look for a job? Where did you look for this job? Where did you look for jobs? Then, now this is the really big hiccup, is that there's not just plumbers sitting at home saying, hey, I need a plumbing job, right?
Right.
So, like,
not the good ones.
Yeah, not the good ones. So then you have to craft a compelling message to get them to leave what they're currently doing and come and work with you and take a risk on your company. What does that look like and sound like? Because I feel like that's another hurdle to jump over.
Yeah, I think some people will love me for this or hate me for this. I hate companies, or I just like companies that really focus on things like, well, we have competitive pay. We have competitive benefits. I don't want you to be competitive. I want you to be blowing the ceiling off against your competition. That's the difference. You have to differentiate yourself, right? Because people are either going to, as clients, right, they're going to window shop. They're going to look for the lowest bidder and hope it works out. Similar with candidates, right? They're just going to look for the person that's going to give them the most money. Maybe there's some sign-on bonuses, right? That was a big push during 2020 and 2021. Everybody was pushing sign-on bonuses, this, that, and the other. And it didn't work out for a lot of people. Why? Because if you just offer, hey, $500, come work for me. Well, as soon as that 3-month period or whatever probation's done, they're just going to go look for the next company that's offering another $500, maybe $1,000, right? You're attracting the wrong type of candidate. And so you got to avoid gimmicks like that. They're tempting, but you can't do that, right? So you have to really look at, kind of even talk to your current team, get feedback from maybe their guys, like, hey, go do some homework with your buddies. Don't say it's us, but like ask, what would make you leave your current employer to go somewhere else? And we would brainstorm all those things. Maybe it's more consistent hours. Maybe it's more overtime. Maybe it's less overtime. Maybe it's more opportunities to grow in the company, like clear opportunities to, if I do this, I can make this, right? Making it as easy as possible for them. Whatever those things are that attracts the right type of person that does want to be a valuable asset of the company, those are the things that we want to really push in both your job posts, but also social content, which we'll get into later.
Yeah. I in preparation, I researched some of the things that you mentioned about those things that candidates choose. So like work hours, you mentioned like overtime or no overtime, wage expectations, which is maybe a base pay and then room for growth, potentially something like that. Training is a very important one, making sure that they have available training. Leadership. So I think there's something to be said about having a leader of a company that has a brand or a personality that people can see and resonate and say like, this is the guy.
Very true.
Right? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Very true. People are working with people, right? And people don't leave companies. They leave people. They leave bad managers. They leave bad team members. Usually it's bad management, right? Because if they have a bad team member and the management's not taking care of it, it's the management's fault.
Yeah.
So people leave people.
Yeah. Another one I saw in there was clients, which I think a lot of people don't think about this, but like if you're an electrician and you're only doing residential work and you're like, I can't stand residential, I want to go do commercial work.
Yeah.
Then that's an easy switch that maybe they didn't even think that I could go do all commercial, like sign me up.
Yeah. It's the nature of the beast, right? You really got to mentally get in the trenches with them day to day. What excites them to go to the work and what frustrates them or makes them feel, deterred to go to work. What's in our control, what's realistic that we can influence, or what's just something that we can't offer. And so we need to focus on a different candidate that would resonate with that instead. That's huge.
Yeah. So you mentioned about social media. We obviously do marketing consulting for home service businesses. I'm guessing that would be in the connect part and also the compel with the messaging of some sort. But
It's a
what is
blend.
that?
Yep.
I have no idea what this would look like. I mean, we've tried some things, but like this is not our expertise as HR or hiring anyone. So
Yeah.
what does that look like? Because I'm curious, and I'm sure other people are too.
Man, at the end of the day, it's really just communicating, right? It's what I like to tell my clients. It's just proactive branding, right? You obviously know about branding,
Yeah.
but it's proactive branding from the company side. What's behind the doors? What's the day in a life as an employee at this company?
Mm.
Okay. And really shining the light on them too. Like that's the biggest thing is companies are like, okay, let's just slap a generic we're hiring post up and we're good. People are gonna want to come work for us. No, they're not. One,
Yeah.
they know you're lazy. Two, they still don't know who you are. And so it's just you wasted time and you've now actually set yourself backwards. Right. You didn't, it's not a negative, it's or a neutral, it's a negative. You have set
Yeah.
yourself back. So really taking the time, one, you got to have a great, healthy culture to begin with. You can't fake it. People are going to see through it either during the interview process or once they walk in. And then you wonder why they didn't stick around through the first week of onboarding because
Yeah.
they saw through your lies. So don't even try that.
Yeah.
And we press that. We press that on our clients. We build these like onboarding presentations. There's these things that are interactive presentations that you can send to your candidates. They apply for a job. You get this automatic email says, thanks for applying. We'll get back to you soon. In the meantime, check this out. More information about us. It's got to be authentic. Your mission, your values, who's currently working in the company, what you're doing with your clients. That's going to be in there. We ask those questions. If they don't have that in there, we say we can't publish this. We can't do this until you get the answers because
Yeah.
you're not going to keep the employee in the back end. We might help you bring them in, but they're not going to stay.
Yeah.
So all that authenticity needs to be internal, and then it's just simply a sharing it. Like we can share stuff all day. I mean, that's what social media is all about, is just sharing.
Yes.
But people need to choose to be proactive to make it good rather than just letting the negative come out from other people's opinions and voices instead. So that's really all it is.
So some takeaways that I think people could do is if you use some messaging system, or even if you just have some of your technicians and you're talking with them, say, hey, do you mind if they want to record a video? That would be great about their experience of working here, and maybe give them like 3 questions to answer or something like that. Video is always great. But if not, just ask them, hey, could you just send me a little blurb about your experience working here that I can share? And then maybe they give you a testimonial, just like you would get a review from a customer. Then snap a quick picture of them, post that with a review of this. You could put that on your careers page on your website, but then now you have social content that you can share every single month, this same thing over and over again. That's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And you're banking that content. So then, if you have like someone that does your scheduling for you for social media, or you do it yourself, just have it on repeat. Just have it going all the time. It needs to be evergreen, because when you're ready to hire, people already are warmed up. They already know who's working there, what they're doing, what they like about the company, what's happening inside. It's easier decision to say, let me go apply. Let me take the next step, because you've already warmed them up. You've already primed the pump for months and months and months. So get that going. And it really should even be part of the review process, have one-on-one performance reviews. That's the chance. All right, let's do a quick video snapshot. Let's get some feedback, positive or negative. It just, all of it needs to be systemized.
Yeah, it's good. We joke with our team, and when I ask them for videos, I'm like, and if someone sees this video and applies to work with us, I'll give you $100. So you better do a good job. Like,
there you go.
But get fun with it. Okay, so you clarify your ideal candidate's persona. So you figure out what that person looks like, how they interact with people. You figure out how I'm going to connect with these people on these different platforms, social media, job boards, whatever. You come up with a compelling message based off of the things that they need and what they're looking for. Now talk to me about, I guess you have a careers page on your website and you drive traffic to that page where people apply and then they come through the door. Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah, so that's one of the cool parts. The applicant tracking system that we set up for our clients, that they own it, it's in their name, it's in their web domain, can very easily be a standalone page within their website, or can be embedded within their current website. A lot of people embed it because they already have their nice, beautiful branding, and it can just fit right in there to see the job posts. But some job posts obviously go to a lot of free boards, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Monster, even Google for Jobs. Like it will post directly to that aggregate board that pops up. You Google a title for a job position, it'll pop up right on the first page of Google. So it goes there, career page, but it all links back to the same. Click apply, fill in some personal information, upload your resume, answer a couple of screening questions, you're done. Super simple.
Nice. And with Indeed, like if you post a free job after like 30 days, it gets rid of it. Is this something that continually posts it for you or something like that on these
You
all
would
these
want to
platforms?
refresh it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So you have this running kind of every single month and you're driving traffic. You're going to be getting applicants all the time. Now, when they come in, what do you do? Like you have to screen them down. What if you're not hiring right now? Like what all happens? Because I'm sure that people are like, well, whoa, Cliff, I don't need to do this. I'm not hiring.
Yeah. So that's the balancing act. But I mean, some of the things that you'd have to do is you got screening, right? So there's systems that help with pre-screening questions, obviously. The applicant tracking system does have some ranking technology. So when applicants come in for jobs, it'll actually rank them based on the resume, the screening questions, and a lot of the details within their application compared to even your benchmark resume. So like I said earlier, you got some great employees right now you want more of, have them upload their resume. You can do that on the back end of the applicant tracking system, so they don't have to actually apply.
Yeah.
You just upload it on the back end, and now it's benchmarking against those. And so it ranks them A through F, and then you have a priority of who to contact first and what questions to drill down deeper on, like a phone interview. Like, hey, talk to me more about this. This really stood out to us. Or, hey, this is missing. We're looking for this. Do you have this experience or whatever? It just gives you some order, some organization to manage your time more effectively while you're screening them.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And you mentioned about communication being very important. So someone applies, they should get like an automatic email of some
Yes. Oh my
sort.
gosh.
Yeah. Okay. So what does that look like?
Man, it's crazy. Like the companies that have these, they're multi-billion-dollar companies. They don't have a simple automated email.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous in this day and age we live in. Like everyone can buy one. But fortunately, the applicant tracking system already has that set up. There's some automation. There's some rules and automations that you can set up. And so they obviously get the automated emails, but as you move them through a pipeline, just like your CRM, whether it's for project management or for client acquisition, right?
Yeah.
You move them through your pipeline by clicking a different step. Like, okay, they pass the pre-screening, move them to the phone interview. Every step, every button you click, we create like template emails and automation rules. You click the button, boom, it shoots off to the next email. Hey, we had a great phone interview with you. We want to go ahead and set up a in-person interview with you. Here's the link to go book your time at our office location that works best for you. And so everything's done for you and for the candidate. It's just with the click of a button. It just saves everybody's time and headaches.
Yeah. So do you think that people should be going through this process? Like, for example, just like you would be doing sales ongoing and trying to close deals, it should be an ongoing interview process because you might lose a guy next week or tomorrow, and now you got to have someone to plug in. I'm guessing
exactly. That's the cool part. And you don't have to necessarily have a current job opening for a position you're not hiring for. You don't want to be misleading, but there is an option to have what's called a talent pool. And so if there's no jobs that they see they're looking for, or it's just closed, they can upload their resume from there. And you still want to contact and nurture them and say, hey, look, right now we're not hiring for this position. But we'll stay in touch. You can nurture them through other campaigns down the road. But either way, here's another part we talked about earlier, right? The cringe of dumping thousands of dollars into Indeed.
Yes.
When you post through our applicant tracking system to Indeed, when they apply, the resume with their personal email, phone number, contact all goes into your database. Every applicant stays there for life. So you could always come back and tap into those people if they didn't pass the first time. Maybe it was like, hey, we can only hire one person. You were number 2. Can't make the cut this time. Well, next time you have to hire, contact that person first.
Yeah.
Hey,
so
we're open again.
This actually just happened with my business because we're hiring another consultant and I got 2 applicants. And we built a talent pool and we just put them into our email newsletter with content.
Yeah.
We send them, our YouTube videos and stuff. That way they see what's going on with the company. And then now we have a talent pool of people that are interacting with our business. They know what's going on. And then when we want to hire the next person, we just say, hey, you would be a great fit.
Yep.
That's kind of what you're talking about. It's the same thing we talk about this in marketing. It's like you have prospects and customers that come through your funnel and turn into a sale, but you have to retarget them to bring them back into your funnel as a prospect or customer again. And this is the kind of same thing. You have all these people sitting here. So I think that's awesome. Through the screening process, what are some of the big hiccups that you see happen on the screening process? Because I think a lot of times, I know when I was in the trades, the screening process was like, dude, can you fog the mirror? Like, we need you on the truck tomorrow. So like, what does that look like? That's like, good.
Yeah, I mean, so when we were originally building this whole service out, it started as like, standalone, like one-on-one consulting within a company, like just permeating their whole company and just going through every department of all the struggles they had, right? And that was one of the biggest things was screening.
Yeah.
They knew they needed to hire people. It was like he was the director of operations. He knew he needed superintendents, foremen, service techs, helpers, all this. And he had to be the one to do the interviews, at least the
Yeah.
face-to-face. He's like, dude, I don't know what to ask them.
Exactly.
Like, really? It's like, I don't know what to ask him. It's like, he didn't go to school for this.
Exactly.
He hasn't gone through some HR like he doesn't know what to ask. I'm like, oh my gosh, that sucks. And so we actually created.
Can I just say a funny story? Can I say a funny story?
Yeah.
When I got hired in the trades, my screening process was meeting him at lunch at Glory Days. Yeah. And then he sent me a text message with the offer after this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's the screening process that went for his director of business development for 3 to 5 million trying to scale his business. So anyways, I'm sorry. Gosh. What does it look like for a good screening process?
Things like that. I mean, keep it authentic too, I mean, hey, I've connected with some great people and made some deals over lunch. That's not a bad thing. But yeah, you want to kind of flesh that out a little bit more. So because the goal too, right? And candidates are going to try and work the system for their benefit. You have to figure out how to protect your flock and keep the bad ones out. People know how to game the system. It's only gotten easier to figure it out. So we have to get better at really screening properly. But one of the biggest pieces of that is they just don't know what questions to ask. They don't know how to drill down on those questions, and they don't know what the next question is. So part of the worksheet you'll see, which anybody can get the Attraction Blueprint for free, is a step where we're asking very targeted questions, step by step, for a phone interview, for a face-to-face interview. And so what we give them is this whole 65-page menu of questions, like, communication questions, troubleshooting questions, business acumen, dealing with emotions, all these different categories that you would want to pick based on the position and environment they'll be working in, and then plug those questions in. That way you're not looking like a fool trying to fumble around for questions. You're not asking the silly canned basic surface level questions. You're getting deep.
Yeah.
And they're safe too. Like they're approved by SHRM, which is a big HR organization. So like you can legally ask these questions and not get in trouble later on. That's the big piece too.
Yeah. Good. I'm in like the DC metro area and we work with clients all over, but in my area, it's just like, there's so much legalistic stuff that goes on. Yeah. And we've had people that get taken advantage of. So that's good that things are screened through that process. All right. So clarify who your ideal candidate is, connect with them on different platforms, have a compelling message that would resonate with them, drive them to some type of a place that you can manage these leads, screen them through a process. And then once you decide to hire them, what does a good onboarding process look like that is like solid to keep these people?
Yep. That's another big step where they drop the ball, right? Like, I mean, they've done a great job, at least however they got the candidates into the funnel. They did a great job bringing them in, right? But a lot of people lose them on the onboarding. Yeah. They wonder why they don't show up on day one or by the end of week one.
Yeah. Or they stick, I mean, what we used to do, stick him out on the truck with the lead tech. The lead tech will work with him for a week and say that he's lazy and that he's not going to work out. And then you're stuck. So what does a good onboarding look like?
So there's a checklist to help with that. There's some basic documentations that some people don't even realize they need. There's some guides that can really help out with, once again, the communication, just like communicating expectations to the new hire now that they're being hired before they even start on day one. So like the worst feeling ever, you're going to a new company, you're having to prove yourself in a new role fast, and you don't even know what's going to be on the quiz. Like you're going in blind. Yeah. Like, of course I'm going to feel apprehensive and probably even a little pissed off because it's like, I'm ready to fight because I don't know what's going to happen in a survival mode. So it's like, we want to take that away. And so part of the process that we help with our clients is we are building onboarding presentations. We have the ones that, go through the company, which they get when they first apply. But then there's ones for like your specific job, what to expect, who are you going to work with? What's the work going to look like? What's a day in the life going to look like? So we can ease you into that. But they get that stuff before they even show up on day one. So they can go through it. It's a nice interactive program so they can really play around with what to expect. and what's expected of them. Maybe it even brings more questions that they can ask. So now they're not feeling like an idiot or feeling like they're lazy because they're just standing around like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that's a big piece of it. One piece that we don't get too heavy into, but we do allude to it in the attraction blueprint, is the training. So many companies are like, kind of like what you're saying, right? Just throw them with the, the leader, is like, because we don't know what else to do with them. They just kind of have to shadow you. And it's so awkward for everybody. It's wasting your time. It's wasting their time. And so getting the right training in place where you have like documented SOPs, you have trainings that they can go through on their own, is going to set them up for success. Well, now they see step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is how you guys do it versus how I might have did it at the last company. So now I'm not feeling like a jerk trying to say, well, this is how I did it, right? And you're also not wasting your leader's time where they're having to handhold the new hire too, and hoping, they're actually picking up things. So it's really like marrying those two worlds together through more systems essentially, but just more communication at the end of the day.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think if they have a roadmap to onboarding, it's going to be a successful onboarding. When I first came out of college, I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and this is one of the largest family-owned companies in the world, 20-some billion dollars. And I was in their management trainee program, and they had a roadmap to success that was a 12-month-long roadmap. And they gave it to us on the first day and said, if your manager doesn't tell you to do this stuff every month, this is what you should be doing. And you can tell them like, hey, meet with me and talk about this stuff.
Love it.
What do you think? Yeah. What do you think is a good, after 3 weeks, after 90 days, you should meet with them? Like, is there any like time frames where you're like, okay, they should be good to go?
Definitely, the check-ins, like we can map out like the one during the recruiting and onboarding is the roles and responsibilities of the current company team, right? Who's going to get the paperwork going? Who's going to welcome them the first day? And then the timeline of who are they going to go to next and what are they going to do? So everyone's set up, right? So it's nice and fluid, seamless process. But then, setting the expectations on, when they should be good. It's case by case based on their experience level, what they got hired in to do, the expectations set out. And that to itself is not very fixed because that's going to be different for each person, right? You can hire for a service tech. You want someone that's got 10 years of experience, but maybe you have to settle for someone that's got 5 to 7. And maybe the next one's only got 3. You have to, but that's your only options, right? Because the guy who had 10 or 15 is an asshole. So you don't want to hire them. So like you got to make adjustments to your timeline based on that. How fast do they need to get up to speed? And that's more of a very targeted approach. What do you need from me, right? So I'm the company asking the new hire, what do you need from me to get you to this place? And so, having all that mapped out so it's clear for both parties is huge. And then we kind of set out the due dates of what needs to be done by certain dates and the check-ins that follow for management. So they're not just waiting that, okay, by 3 months, you should be good to go and have not checked in between that time frame.
Yeah. I completely agree. I have 2 other questions before we wrap this up. So the first one is the hire slow, fire fast. Do you agree with that, or what does that look like for your processes?
I wouldn't say necessary hire slow, because sometimes that means, well, let's just drag it out for the sake of time's sake. So it's like kind of the ball's in our court. I think that's kind of, I don't think that's right. I believe it's hire intentionally.
That's good.
And firing is pretty much something on the company side that we missed. We missed it in the screening. We missed it on the onboarding, the expectations, the training, something we have failed the employee. Sorry, at the end of the day, unless some like magical like switch of the personality of that new hire, they like have amnesia, dementia, like they just lose everything. Like it really comes down to the company failed somewhere. There's some gap. There's some hole that we did not fill along the way that we're to the point that we have to terminate this person.
Yeah.
And so I believe it's more hiring with intentionality. That's why we want to systemize as much as we can. So we remove operator error, people error, but it does come down to the company at the end of the day. So I say hire with intentionality because you do need to hurry up. You don't want to keep your guys struggling out in the field waiting for that new person. So a lot of times we can get someone, like we said earlier, refresh the ads, every 30 days. If you haven't gotten a good number of applicants within 2 weeks, something's wrong. Just from our experience, if you post something on like Friday and you're not getting someone by that following week, there's something wrong. We did something wrong.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a very good number that people should in their mind say, okay,
yeah,
I should know that. And then the last thing I wanted to ask you about, which I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up, is the actual like building a corporate culture that people want to stay at and promote and talk about. So what is like building a corporate culture? And we don't want like, this is all corporate, but more so like building a company that people are excited to work for and people are excited to work at. What does that look like? Do you have like a simple blueprint or something that you could say makes sense?
I mean, I think one of the most simplistic ways we approach that, leveraging things like the DISC assessment, where everybody in the company ends up taking this. So you have a common language of communication to acknowledge your strengths and your weaknesses, but also know someone else has different strengths and weaknesses. And how can you blend that? How can you use that to complement each other to work together, whether it's within the same department, within multiple departments working together, right? Sales, estimating, production, whatever. Like there's always some type of interaction we got to figure out, to be honest about ourselves and to figure out how to work together. That's a big piece of it. I say, if you can work on that, if you can lay your pride aside and work constructively at how to improve yourself and others together, that in itself is going to make a constructive culture. It's not forced. It's not canned. It's not fake. And it's not too corporate either, because it's just like being authentic. Like, what do we need to improve on? What do I need to improve on? Okay. And how are we holding each other accountable to those things that we need to improve on in a timely manner? That's one of the biggest things, because that's going to make your team feel a lot better. Because if you as management are doing it with each other, then they will be more likely to do it with themselves and the guys they're working with as well, and girls.
Yes. Some cool things I've seen from people in the trades is like, know what your team's dreams are or goals for the next 3 to 5 years. Even if you just know them and ask them that question, it's going to seem like you actually care, which we all care. It's just if you don't ask questions like that, they don't know if you care. Yep. And then figure out how you can help them reach those goals. So like if someone wants to pay off debt or something like that, tell them about Dave Ramsey's podcast. Or if someone wants to do something else, tell them about this book or something like that. Another one I've seen is having a book of the month, where anyone who wants to can participate in this. I'll find the book on audio or buy it for the company, and you can listen to it while you're going to your routes and stuff.
Yeah.
And some stuff like simple stuff like that builds a great culture. But I think a lot of times, like when I worked at the company, it was like, well, we do an annual, soccer party where we get together and stuff, and they bring their kids. It's like, that's great. Yeah. But also from a professional perspective and like growth minded and building a company that's like growing, I think that's the next layer to it that a lot of people miss.
Absolutely. And I think it's not the big grandiose gesture one time, year type thing. It's the daily check, or not even daily, but it's the regular checking in.
Yeah.
It's the regular conversation. Like you said, like grounded in their actual goals. How's this going? How's that going? Like really caring. I mean, that's really your job as a manager. It's not to be, oh, I'm busy, I can't talk to you right now. It's literally, your job is to talk to your team and manage everyone else. How is everyone else doing? Or your family.
Yeah. I look at it like a coach, like a leader. A coach would know what their players' strengths and weaknesses are and what they're working towards to help them build towards that. That's what our job is, basically.
Yeah, exactly. You're high level. You see everything. That's your job.
Yeah. Well, Cliff, this has been great, man. So we've been talking about this attraction blueprint, and I downloaded it in preparation for the call and went through it. And it is like almost like a workbook that you can go through, and it's free. So, Cliff, where should people get that at?
Just at our website, serviceleadersystems.com. They'll find it right there. Just download it. It says ebook. You just go there. You can see some more information behind the scenes, but you can just click download, and it'll download as a PDF, and you start filling it out.
Awesome. And if they want to talk to you about maybe working together, they can go there and schedule some time with you.
Yeah, I make it super simple too. There's a book now button. And so they'll just book a video call with me at their earliest convenience, and we'll get on a call and just break it down, whatever they're working with, and I'll show them what we got and see if it makes sense.
Awesome. Cliff, well, thanks so much, man. We dove deep on this and some good action items. So thank you so much for sharing everything.
Yeah, no, love the question. Thanks you, Phil.
All right.